one game away. Blow up. We're playing for something, man. We're playing for something. It's gotta mean something to you. It gotta mean something. Everything you got. Everything you got. Let's finish this.
Do it, fellas.
Let's go.
Let's do it, fellas.
Finish 2-3. 1, 2, 3. Finish.
Winning has a price. And leadership has a price. So I pull people along when they didn't want to be pulled. I challenge people when they don't want to be challenged.
You ready to make history? Come on now. Yeah. You know, there's these two words. And when I say them, people get goosebumps because they know what happens next. So without further ado,
Free smoke.
look. Scared cause I'm drowning in silence with bad thoughts. These days I don't have nothing to say, man, the bag talks. I put in headphones on my driver. Pull up to the spot and give a good dick and Godiva. I can't lie, I'm uninspired. No more pillow talking about nonsense. I only stick around to put some band-aids on my conscience. I don't know why I feel so bad, nigga. That's what we do, no foundation. We don't build no more, we just screw. Half a bottle of Henny, girl, I'm going with the wind. The same niggas say they happy for me, ain't want me to win. So I'm done on my friends. Don't need help popping Coronas and reminiscing. I just call up Big Bro J and say it's time for venting. If I live forever, I hold this hate for some centuries. You don't know how much I have you doing what it meant to me, but motherfuck all that. I don't even offer up the time to make the call back. Stupid Lodo, if they don't get the picture now, man, I crop them out of the photo. I can't relate to my peers. Been doing this shit for years. I'm motivated by fears. I took the wheel and I steer. My sound not dictated by fuck boys in Atlanta. Stay gifted like this album was ghost written by Santa Bars forever, like they decided to throw me under Slammer. Every song's a hit like they picture me underhanders. I could drop 1,000,000 songs, but they never gon' understand us. Soapbox sermons for niggas never giving chances. Fight our whole lives to get these weak ass advances. Work twice as hard for the shit that they getting handed. And this ain't even nothing we chose, nigga, we branded. Still can't tell why all of these niggas mad at me. I'm trying to get 100 so I can put my team on salary. Give it all to the art, man, I turn my life to a gallery. Man, damn, what a fucked up masterpiece. 1,100 shots and I swear, man, I felt them all. If we ain't even good on our blocks, man, who can we call? Pre-decline state of mind, we broke crabs in the barrel. Got us fighting our folk, man, this shit just a life of peril.
Well, I tell you what, L, look, I give up, okay? When it comes down to Steph Curry, the light-skinned brother with the green eyes, I finally bow down to him, okay? He is him.
Welcome back to another episode of Kicking It with Saint. I am your host, Saint, a legendary sports talk analyst in the making, a young god. People gonna hate that. Who is this dude? Anyways, NBA All-Star Weekend. I am not happy. I'm not happy about the NBA All-Star Game. The way I was feeling about the dunk contest, well, the way we all felt, I'm pretty much over the dunk contest. It was a great one this year. Well, it was a good one this year. I'm pretty much in that phase where I'm just waiting to be thrilled by it again. I don't go into it with high hopes at this point. The NBA All-Star Game, I have high expectations for every year. And what happened this year was an absolute travesty. And a couple things was proven this year. So that's where I'm going to start with the NBA All-Star Game. So Team Giannis, Team LeBron, Team Giannis won 184-175. If you remember, they changed the All-Star Game rules a couple years ago. You play 3 separate games basically in the first 3 quarters. And at the end of those 3 quarters, they tally up the scores in honor of Kobe Bryant. They put a 24 game mark. So whoever had the most points at the end of those 3 quarters, basically, and it's to charity. If Team LeBron win the first quarter, a donation is made to Team LeBron's charity of choosing. If Giannis win, vice versa. The way it played out, and if it's a tie at the end of the quarter, both teams get charities get something. So at the end of the first quarter tonight, it was a tie, and Team Giannis won the other 3 quarters. The 24 mark in honor of Kobe Bryant, R.I.P. Kobe and Gigi and everybody else who lost their lives on that day. But in honor of Kobe, you add 24 to the total of the team that's leading at the end of those 3 quarters, and that's now the target score. So the target for a score after 3 quarters tonight was 84. The team and the teams, obviously tonight, they do what they've been doing in NBA. an NBA All-Star draft where the two captains draft their teams. This year was the first year that they did it live before the game. I didn't write down the order of which everybody was picked, but I'm going to just run through them real quick. Team LeBron starters was Bron, Embiid, Kyrie, Luka, and Jokic. Team Giannis's starters were Giannis, Tatum, Morant, Mitchell, Markkanen. Team Giannis's backup, his reserves were Lillard, Holiday, Shea, DeMar, Pascal, Bam, and Sabonis. LeBron's backups were Edwards, Brown, Paul George, Halliburton, Randall, Fox, Jaren Jackson Jr. Those were the two teams. Giannis played one dunk. He dunked the ball, and then they immediately called a timeout, and he came out of the game. And who filled in for him? I think Lillard or I can't remember who filled in for him, but Bron also didn't play in the second half of this game. And I'm going to get into the game in a bit, but I have a problem with how this game played out this year because, you see, it's a crowd of people who've always been like, I don't like the All-Star game. They don't play hard. I'm not in that crowd. I do not believe it's realistic, nor should it be expected that these dudes go out there and play a competitive All-Star game, which is essentially an exhibition game for the fans, in the middle of a season. That makes absolutely no sense. For one, I believe this is no baseball got it too. As a sport that have the All-Star festivities in the middle of a season, it makes no sense to put on an actual competitive game. People who say, oh, well, baseball put on a game, that's just because how else can you? Baseball would do good if they would change that game into more of a fun event rather than put on a long, boring ass game where almost no hits happen. And you read like when the one or two, like this year's All-Star game for baseball was awful. After the last couple scores, I think we went like 6 innings without a score or a hit for one team. So baseball should think about trying to fix their game and turn it into something else. However, the NBA, I've never had a problem with dudes going out there because they basically show you how great they are the first 2-3 quarters with skill, and then they lock it down in the fourth quarter. That's how it's always been. And in some games, you get defense played in bits and spurts throughout the entirety of the game before the fourth quarter come around. And the last couple years since they changed the rules, it's always been a competitive game towards the end of these games. So I'm never going to have a problem with them not going all out for 4 quarters in an All-Star game because it's in the middle of the season. And even for the NFL players, the Pro Bowl is at the end of the season. And after you go through the grind that they went through during the season, you're not trying to play yet another competitive game where it's a high risk of injury. You just can't do it. So I have no problem with the effort level in that like this. And I done said it multiple times. The NBA has by far the best All-Star weekend of any sport. I don't even think it's close. With all the festivities that go on throughout the 3 days, the way they honor legends and the past greats of the game, the way they boost up their players and put them on pedestals so that they can shine throughout the weekend, the way they highlight the beautiful parts of the city that they have in the All-Star festivities in. Once again, the way they bring out former legends that played the game, the way they run through a history of not just All-Star weekend and the dunk contest and all those type of things, but the way they go through just they use this All-Star weekend as a history lesson a lot of years to give you a history. And I don't know when the last time they didn't use this year as a ways to push black culture forward. Like when is the last time they didn't use the weekend to do that? So the NBA All-Star weekend, in my opinion, is easily, I don't even think it's close to any other sport. No other sport is anywhere near as good as the NBA. Other sports should actually be calling the NBA to figure out how to put together an event like this. But that being said, tonight's game was a major disappointment. And for a couple reasons. Bron basically did not play after the first half. Steph, KD did not play at all. They did not participate this year. Kawhi usually play. He didn't participate this year. All the top guys that have been in the league for a while didn't participate this year. And it was really, I understand some of these dudes have been in the league for a while, but we consider them young dudes like Tatum, Morant, Mitchell, Markkanen, Jokic, Luka, Embiid, Brown, Edwards. To me, this All-Star game was really the first look into how it could look with the next generation of great players. And I'm not happy because the legends and the great, I hope the people who enjoy the All-Star weekend the way I do, but they understand what they just saw, I hope they sit down with these young dudes and tell them this was not it. Tatum had a phenomenal performance. Mitchell had a phenomenal performance. Team LeBron got their asses mopped off the floor basically in the third quarter. It's okay to not play no defense in that first half. I get that. Even though a lot of these dudes was doing layups and stuff. I understand Kyrie doing layups with his wizardry. All these other dudes who could dunk the ball and just laying it up, making the game look worse than what it ever looks like. Because if you remember, most All-Star games, we boo Anthony Davis for doing layups in the open court rather than dunking it. Like, if you're not going to play defense, at least dunk the ball when they give you that lane. Don't just keep laying the ball up. There was a lot of layups going on out there. Like, look at LeBron. He out there throwing it down even at this age. Look at the effort he extend and look at some of these other dudes. Like, one of the things that bothered me the most was in the third and fourth quarter, there was no defense still being played. Not even a effort. And that was my biggest problem because that right there shined a light on what it is like to not have LeBron, to not have a try-hard like Giannis on the floor, to not have KD, Curry, and the dudes who play this on a yearly basis, the Chris Pauls, who understand that the All-Star game is a different game in those last two quarters, especially in that last quarter. The effort level did not change in that fourth quarter. And I looked around the court and I'm like, bro, do any of these young dudes on the losing team right now understand what this is supposed to be? Reggie even was saying it without being harsh about it, but where was the effort at the end of the game? Like at the end of the game, it was played just like the start of the game. They still going out there letting dudes just throw up shots. They still letting dudes launch without any pressure. They still letting dudes just walk up the court without pressuring them. I'm like, yo, the target score is set. It's time to play. It's time to play defense. These young dudes were just letting each other go out there and still just do whatever. And I'm like, this is unacceptable. This is the first All-Star game in a long time that I was like, oh, nah, this ain't it. This is not it. Now you see the effect of not having LeBron, KD, Curry, Kawhi, Chris Paul, the greats that play in an All-Star game on a regular basis that some fans is quick to want to get out because, oh, the young guys getting disrespected. This is why. I would not be surprised if going into next year, the voters who really care about the All-Star game, who saw what I just saw out there, I wouldn't be surprised if you rarely see any of these young dudes on the ballot next year, unless they just having unbelievable seasons. And even then, I wouldn't be surprised because what you just saw tonight was not how the NBA All-Star game has looked the last couple years. This was a travesty. And I don't want to go hard on the young dudes. I'm only 28. But a lot of these real young dudes who played in this game, who was their first, second, third, this was not it. No effort for defense was made in that last quarter. It's as if they did not care that it was a target score. It is as if they did not even realize the rules of said competition. They was just out there to get up shots. This was embarrassing. Somebody, LeBron, Giannis, somebody should have went and called a timeout and said, yo, this is not, LeBron specifically. He should have told his dudes, yo, listen, the game is serious now. It's been a fun weekend. We just had 3 fun. Now it's time to lock in. He should have told him that in the third quarter when they just letting Tatum, Mitchell, and Lillard go on a heater. Most of the shots not being defended. On top of letting the score get away from him, then you let Jaylen Brown and Tatum get into this little, back and forth that was cool. If not for the fact that, bro, Team LeBron, you're losing. You can't afford to look at Jason Tatum hit shots. You got to lock up. You can't afford to get. And then one of the things that really was pissing me off was towards the end of this game, in the fourth quarter, Team LeBron is still launching ridiculous shots rather than trying to actually win the game. They are still just launching shots like it's the first quarter. I'm like, bro, what is going on? Like, this was embarrassing. And It's so crazy that the leader on the floor for Team LeBron, because LeBron's not on the floor and Luka had no care of playing this game, was Kyrie. And you would have thought Kyrie would have got to them dudes and be like, yo, this the NBA All-Star game. I understand y'all, y'all having fun, yada, 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 but it's time to lock in. But Team LeBron, it's like they didn't give a damn. So that was very frustrating. Like, the NBA All-Star game this year was a major disappointment to me. I would not be shocked if people ripped this contest apart, but I'm putting it on the young dudes. Like, this was ridiculous. And then Tatum, as many points as he's scoring, look at his lack of effort on defense in the fourth quarter. Like, he didn't care to play no defense. It was just like, okay, if they miss or make it, I don't care. I'm getting the ball and I'm shooting it again. No effort made whatsoever by Team LeBron. No effort by Team Giannis in the fourth quarter. This was an all-star. This is the all-star game that people try to say all the other ones are. The way people hated on the all-star game in the past, this is the all-star game that people should. And no disrespect to Jason Tatum, because he just won the Kobe Bryant Award. And shout out to him. Well, I think he scored 51, 52 points. But this was a god-awful effort. And you just know that if Giannis is playing in this game, for one, he owned Tatum's team. But imagine he wasn't. And Tatum going, and say somebody like this was going off on Team LeBron. Bro, Giannis is getting in front of him and locking that shit up, bro. They understand what the All-Star game is. In a game like this, where so many young dudes just did not take this game serious whatsoever, they actually played it as if it was an exhibition practice type of game. This is the type of thing that diminishes the value of an all-star game. So I hope next year that not so many young dudes get to play in the all-star game, or not. It's not that I don't want them to be invited to the all-star games, but I don't want them taking a major. I'm praying that the old gods is healthy next year. We get to see the CP3s if he's still around, the KDs, the Currys, LeBron healthy, Giannis healthy, because I do not want a Kawhi healthy. I'm not trying to see the shit that I just saw, because that was absolutely ridiculous, bro. That was just god awful, bro. But now to the other All-Star game event. So I'm gonna be honest, I gotta show some more respect for those celebrity games and whatnot. If they announced who the celebrities were like a couple days before the events and told us a layout of how all the events was gonna go that night, it's a good chance that I could actually catch that. But they never do. But DK Metcalf ended up winning the player of the game for the MVP for the celebrity game. Janelle Monáe, they kept talking about her new track Float, which is a hard track, especially when they played it behind the LeBron James scoring graphics. But so shout out to her. Shout out in the NBA, bro. They just do so much greatness during All-Star. I hope the NBA talk to these young dudes, bro. I'm telling you, because that shit was embarrassing. I am legitimately irritated by what I just saw in that All-Star game. And I know it is a product of the youth that was in the All-Star game, not understanding how this game was supposed to be played. Just going out there throwing up shots, not playing no defense in the fourth, bro. And Reggie was basically begging them to try to play defense in the fourth quarter. And they just had no desire to do it whatsoever. And you just know that's not going to happen when the dudes who usually make the All-Star team are in there. That's why, bro, Embiid always be bitching about different type of things. Bro, you maybe shouldn't have played in the All-Star because you didn't play no defense either. I mean, just in the fourth quarter, bro. And I'm not saying playing defense throughout the entire game. I'm talking about playing defense when you're supposed to in an All-Star game. Go back and look at the All-Star games we've had the last couple years and look at when the defense is picked up in those games. Come back and look at this one and see that never happened in this game. They played this game as if it was a first quarter for all four quarters. And that was absolutely. And it was cemented when the target score was set in the fourth and Team LeBron still did not try. So just unbelievable. But the skills challenge was won by the Utah Jazz. I like how they keep adding different things to the skills challenge. So you had the traditional skills challenge thing where you run around the not cones, but the big NBA signs this year. You got to hit the floater with one hand. You got to hit the 3-pointer with some lightsabers crossing your face. You got to go make the dunk, pass it off like a relay, basically. But it was two other stages. It was a pass and drill where it was a bounce pass, a chest pass, and it was just 3 passes. I just know specifically one of them was a bounce pass. And all 3 teams competed in that. And then you had the shooting competition where it was marked spots from score spots on the floor with guys. You had to hit a shot. Nobody could hit back-to-back shots. Everybody had to take shots and so on and so forth. So I like that idea. The skills competition did not turn out the way it should have turned out, in my opinion, but because of execution. But the idea is I like the idea. If they are going to do this with the skills competition, they might as well go all in and actually draft teams or put people together in a competition who not only want to be there, because that's one thing that I'm starting to realize with some of these young dudes, bro. The young dudes in the NBA, they taking all the things that come the cool side of it. You know, they cool with being, you know, faces of the NBA, getting their own shoes, buying the jewelry, the girls, the cars, the money, the grills, the chains, the shoes, the clothes, you know, the different people they meet. But for some reason, the amount of young dudes that walked away from this All-Star weekend basically feeling like, yo, these dudes do not give a flying fuck about the All-Star. Ja Morant and Anthony Edwards basically confirmed they will not ever do the All-Star game. And then people saying like, oh, well, it's not enough incentive for them to do it. What are you talking about? Dudes who are greater than those 2 dudes have competed in those type of in the dunk contest. Kobe, Jordan. And I blame this on LeBron for never competing in one, because once a dude as great as LeBron don't compete, and now all these other dudes can walk around talking about well, LeBron didn't compete in it and he the GOAT. He not the GOAT, but still, he is great. But I don't like that he never competed in it. And then all these whack ass excuses that they get I'm an in-game dunker, or I like dunking on people. Like, I don't really have to create, like, the fact that, like, you got to give dudes like Blake Griffin, who was at his height of dunking, he competed in the competition, Dwight Howard, Nate Robinson, Kobe, Jordan, Jay Rich, Dr. J, Spud. Like, you got to get a dudes who was great in the game at the time, Vince Carter, who competed in these competitions, bro. Give them credit, because it's very clear that this young generation, when the old dudes talk about the young generation not giving a damn, I'm now starting to see what Charles Barkley gets so up in arms about now. Because this weekend showed me that a lot of these young dudes don't care about the history of the NBA. They don't care. Oh, we love Kobe. How can you say you love Kobe with the effort that some of them put forward in this competition? Kobe took the All-Star game serious. Kobe competed in the dunk contest. How can you say that when you won't compete in some of these competitions? You don't go hard in the competition as it matters. Like, I'm very confused, but I'm starting to understand more and more why the old dudes say that some of these young dudes is not really representing the game they supposed to. Because the old dudes did have to grind back in the day. They did take the fame and fortune that came with it, but they never forgot to put in the work too. They remember that came first. These young dudes, for some reason, bro, it's like they don't care. That's why it's so glaring when you see how Giannis playing the All-Star game and how these young dudes decided to play in this All-Star game. Some people say Giannis played too hard in the All-Star game. I will never even have that thought if I ever had it ever again, bro. Because this was an absolute disgrace to me. And when I look at some of the efforts that's put, like Jordan Clarkson, for example, and how chill and cool he tried to put, the dude did the skill competition with a chain on. That clearly he wasn't trying to go all out while he had a chain on, because he didn't want the chain to break. Why? Like, bruh, you know, it's times like this where I understand why David Stern was as strict as he was, bruh. Because you need somebody like that in place who understand the value of effort. Effort changes everything. When it's a lack of effort, but a continuous overflowing of rewarding of lack of effort, now you have a problem. The problem that you have with superstars sitting out with load management is if they can play and they just simply choosing not to, that's the real problem. The effort is what's lacking that you have a problem with. When these young dudes coming into All-Star Weekend basically thinking it's all about them, now you have a problem. Because now the All-Star Weekend is going to have all the festivities, the praising of the stars, but the lack of competition, which is still something that's got to be there at the end of the weekend. And that just wasn't there in the All-Star game. The dunk contest And that's just a shame. And I cannot do anything but put it on the young dudes. I mean, Ja Morant didn't even basically want to play in this game. Luka basically didn't want to play. These is young dudes in the game. When Kobe, LeBron, T-Mac, Vince Carter, Grant Hill, Michael Jordan, Magic, all the greats, when they were young, with an opportunity to perform in the All-Star game, they went hard. They wanted to play. They couldn't wait to get into the game and perform. And then you look at these young dudes who in their early 20s. Oh, no, I'm good. What has this become? The entitlement. And I hate saying this because, I'm a pro player show. And I know how I sound right now. But that is a reality of what just happened this year. And I don't want this to become a trend of dudes coming there with showing absolutely no effort. It's just all about us. Let's get praise, but we ain't going. What is that? Like Kobe and Bron and them boys never pulling this shit in their younger days. They coming to the All-Star game, bro. They is competing. Well, I mean, Luka said that was embarrassing to me, bro. And Ja Morant really irritated me because as much as I love this dude, I'm never competing in a dunk contest. And you pull this shit at the All-Star game. Like, bro, what kind of entitlement is this? Now, it's completely different if a dude is hurt. That's the only reason Giannis didn't play. Because he had just got hurt the week before All-Star game. But for some of these dudes to show up just and not compete. And it's a completely different story if you on the bench and they just don't play you. But, man, to make the decision you just not. That was very irritating to me. Shout out to Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, two dudes who just went to the finals, who could have easily said, nah, I'm not going to compete tonight either. And both of them still decided to compete, knowing that after the All-Star game, we still competing for a championship this year. This lack of effort, the entitlement, bro. I just think it's these young dudes damn near ruined the weekend for me. I ain't gonna lie. They damn near ruined All-Star weekend. You could just feel the I don't give a damn spewing off of them, bruh. You could just feel it, and that's embarrassing. Like, bruh, when the players just choose not to put any effort for it in such a limited, when you're not even asking for that much effort in this type of weekend, it's crazy to me. And like I said, hopping over to the dunk contest real quick, Matt McClung ended up winning the dunk contest, and a lot of people said he brought it back. Did he? Because if we just see him the reason I don't think this was a great dunk contest this year is because the competition really wasn't there. Nobody else was really wowing you, getting you off of your seats. I don't really think Matt McClung really did anything that got me off of my seats as much as I liked his dunks. But is that his fault and their fault, or is that the fault of star players with big names who absolutely choose not to come to the dunk contest before they even make it to the NBA? And then we ooh and we ah them during the All-Star game when they spite you by going all out to do dunks. Like, I'm dead ass right now, bro. The young dudes is absolutely ruining the game. At least the All-Star weekend. Like, this is crazy. Now I'm starting to see why people hate certain people don't like Utah. Not Utah. Don't like Ja Morant and that Grizzlies so much. Because for a team that has accomplished absolutely nothing, to talk and to act the way they do. I mean, like I said, hopping back to the skills challenge. Utah ended up winning that skills challenge because, like I said, they're going to have to put people in this competition that actually can compete in it, because that shooting competition where nobody can hit shots at the end of the in that part, and then the passing, they got to get that down pat too, get better rules than that, because that was all over the place too. It'll look way better if dudes like guards and people who can actually handle the ball and shoot compete in that type of competition. But when you see a team like the Jazz win it after you see Jordan Clarkson basically out there on chill mode, yeah, that's very irritating to me once again. And he ain't even a young dude. He been in the league for a while, but he basically is a young dude when he comes to these all-star events because he's not an all-star usual. So to see how chill and relaxed he was, and yes, that is what you're supposed to feel, but compete during the competitions or just don't compete, bro. Like, I just don't understand this urge to want to look cool on TV rather than do your job, bro. Like, the NBA do a magnificent job of propping up players. It's not a league in the world, in my opinion, that do a better job at praising and glorifying and idolizing their players like the NBA. And for the effort of these young dudes of this week, I mean, Jesus Christ, bro. But the Jazz did end up winning the skills competition. And then you get to the 3-point contest. Oh, back to the dunk contest where Matt McClung did win. Like I said, in order for this competition to be brought back to life, we're going to have to either be wowed by dudes we don't know who just end up having unbelievable performances, or big name guys are going to have to decide to show up. And I just pray for the parents out there raising the next generation of superstars, please teach your kids, bro, that at some point in time, if you are lucky enough to become a professional athlete, that you then become a Didi in a sense, somebody that a lot of people are going to look up to. You're going to have a lot of your personal information and things like that released, but you're going to be hailed as a god to a lot of people because of what you do on the court or on the field or whatever sport you play. And specifically, if you are not even just an NBA player, if you are an athlete, and I understand that the leagues is businesses, but at the end of the day, you do have to understand one thing. If they do choose, and the different brands and fans like that put money into praising you, they put time into praising you and putting you on this pedestal, the least you can do is give them effort in return. You don't got to write them a check to thank them. You don't got to buy them gifts to thank them. Just try hard to thank them. The greatest form of showing somebody you appreciating them is trying hard for them, putting in an effort for whatever the situation may be. And so I hope the next generation of athletes understand you can go into an NBA contest like this, and if you're lucky enough to be in the NBA, they're going to praise you if you're a great player. They are going to glorify you. Please don't let that go to your head and believe to yourself, now I don't have to do certain things. Please teach your kids, like, if you're lucky enough to be an all-star, if you're lucky enough to have a God-given ability and a hard work through talent to mold that ability, to be able to jump through the air like Jordan and dunk, please tell your kids to don't be bitches and say, oh, no, I'm too good for a dunk contest. And not just a dunk contest, in life. Oh, I'm not too good for that. Because the people who put you on this pedestal, they dying to see you do certain things that is well within your realm of doing. Now, that's a different story if they asking you to do something that's just outlandish. What's competing in a dunk contest? But the entitlement by players, bro, is young players. It's crazy. The 3-point contest was a beaut. I picked Damian Lillard to win that. I'm happy that he did. The finals came down to him, Halliburton, and Hill. Halliburton had 31 in the first round, and then, had 17 in the last one. Dame Lillard ended up winning it with a big time bucket. Halliburton went last, but it wasn't really, Dame Lillard knew he won that one by Halliburton's last rack. Julius Randle should not have been in this competition. If they was going to replace Anthony Simmons, they should have replaced him with another shooter. Do not turn a 3-point contest into some joke. Only 3-pointers should be in this competition. But I'm happy that Dame finally got that on his resume. And that was pretty much All-Star Weekend. I wasn't going to be too long because, as much as I like those other events, the All-Star game just really, to see the lack of effort, bro, and the lack of desire and the entitlement by the players just was, this is a pro player show, pro player channel. One day, hopefully, a pro player network. But that was irritating. But with that being said, I appreciate y'all for joining me on another episode of Kicking It with Saint. Shout out to all the legends of the NBA and everybody who put this type of stuff together. The announcers, Candace, Reggie. I never remember none of the white announcers on the table, but shout out to all them. Kenny, Shaq, Chuck, Ernie, every single person that ever has something. The performances tonight was dope. Yeah, a good All-Star weekend. Terrible game because of the youth, but you know, next year will be better. I'm hopeful. With that being said, I appreciate y'all for joining me on another episode of Kicking It with Saint. Tell somebody you fuck with him. Tell somebody you love him. You can be anything in the world. Choose to be kind to somebody. Saint out.
I got the moves like hot sauce. Lil' mama taking the top off. I'm laying down getting topped off. After this, she know she getting knocked off. I know she loving the money, so I keep on thumbing and thumbing. She say she horny when she taking shots, so I keep them coming and coming. Now I'm putting dick in her tummy. Scoop her up like I'm raking or something. You would think shawty red track, the way that she running and running. You getting dumber and dumber. You out here chasing the bone. After she finished from giving me dome, the Uber is taking her home. Tight.